Hi everyone, welcome to the channel today. Welcome to the Ivy League series. Today we have a special guest from Harvard Business School. His name is Daniel, and I'm very excited to have him on the channel today. He's here to tell us about his experience, tips, and advice. So I'll just be passing it up to Daniel now to tell us about his background, his academic, professional experience. So Daniel, over to you. Tell us about yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on this platform. My name is Daniel Jayoba. I am currently a second year MBA candidate at Harvard Business School, soon to be alum. I graduate next month and excited about that. Prior to business school, I practiced as a lawyer and attorney in Lagos, Nigeria. I did that for about 3 years before coming to business school, and my focus was more on banking and finance, fintech, and essentially helping this companies in terms of loan syndication. And then when I moved to fintech, helping them, either the VC or PE firms or the startups, in terms of how to structure their deals, how to protect themselves, and just essentially whoever we're working for, help with the legal documentation. And I enjoyed the work, but prior to actually working as a lawyer, I also went to University of Lagos, where I studied law, Lagos, Nigeria. It was a great time. And with the professional experience of my academics and also my profession, I decided to then pivot to an MBA program as opposed to an LLM that you find is the conventional path for lawyers. I do a number of NGO work. I won't really go into that now. And I think when I'm not, how I like to relax, I love to travel and I also love to watch movies.
You have a very interesting background. So from law to working at a fintech and then doing an MBA. When you were making those pivots, when you were making those moves, did you have people to look up to because I can imagine that this is not the traditional way that people with a law background, end up or want to end up. So did you have people that you looked up to or people that you were reaching out to to give you guidance or advice? Or do you just wake up one day and you're like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm doing next. How did that turn out for you?
Yeah, and to be honest, I never knew I was going to do an MBA. MBA was never in the picture for me, and the power of envisioning people and having role models and mentors is actually very important, because all the role models I had or I have are all lawyers and none of them did an MBA. So I just thought the path for me was going to be an LLM or just stay in the law firm and go up until partnership. But I think I started considering an MBA after a very good friend of mine, out of the blues, just started talking about it. Like, he is loves business, and he just said, "Oh, why rather than doing an LLM, have we ever considered doing an MBA?" And I was like, "This is so strange," and I discarded it almost immediately. Like, this, we know no one who has ever done an MBA in our circle, so where's this coming from? And I continued on my path to getting an LLM. But I think as I started progressing in my career in the law firm, we worked with a number of CEOs of the other companies we're advising, as the legal counsel, and I saw the depths that these professionals, the CEOs, brought to the table. And after every meeting, I go back and check, and I see, oh, this person went to an MBA in this school, this person has an MBA from this school. And I think for me, that was where the idea of the MBA started forming, and I was like, okay, you know what? I think my friend was actually onto something, and that was how I then started exploring more about it, got interested, and decided that, you know what, I think this would be a great program to actually pursue, because me, I wanted to be like those MDs and CEOs that will be spitting facts and exactly. So that was how everything came about.
That's very similar to mine and to a lot of people that I've actually spoken to. Like when you see some of the people that you love to be mentored by or people that are doing big things, you read their stories and you're like, oh, this person got an MBA. Like you're like, oh, so what's in here? Like, okay, maybe there's something that I need to do. There's something I'm missing, right? It's very that's the power of your network and the power of actually reading through stories of people and power of just knowing what is possible for you. Thanks for sharing. So let's talk about your journey to business school, right? Um, how did you know it was time for that move? What informed your decision to actually choose Harvard? Like, did you apply to other business schools or you just bend solely on Harvard, like Harvard or nothing, or like how was the journey like for you?
Yeah, so you asked like four questions in one, but I think let's put it in two buckets. So I think the first one was how did I know when it was time? And the second
Mhm.
one was how did I know, why did I apply to Harvard? Why Harvard? I think for me, the first one on how did I know it was time? I am very big on purpose, I'm very big on passion. And at that point in my career, I think I wasn't really as thrilled. Okay, now I'm being brutally honest. I wasn't really as thrilled about like the legal practice as much as I thought I would have been at that stage of my career. And at some point, it felt as though things were mundane. I had, would I say, learned a lot in the legal industry, and after a while, it was as though we were doing the same thing over and over again, but on different transactions and with different clients. And I also wasn't really, like I said, really finding, I didn't wake up every morning and was like, okay, this is what I want to spend the rest of my life doing. So I think for me at that point, when I got to that point in my career, I felt, okay, you know what, if this isn't what you see yourself doing in the next 10, 15 years, and if you think you are, it has become a bit monotonous, isn't time to explore something else. So I think I started asking myself those questions, and the answer became yes. I was like, okay, I think now this is time, and I want to go somewhere where I would wake up every morning and be excited about. And I think for me, that was how I identify that it was time. And another reason, there are a plethora of reasons to identify when it's time, but I think for me, that was my personal instance. Secondly, I think to answer the question of why Harvard, it was a no-brainer. I think when I think back about my entire experience, it was as though everything was leading me to Harvard Business School, because I remember like when I was age 15, 16, I used to pray about going to Harvard, and it didn't make any sense to me. And I would write it when I go to church. I write it on the prayer guide. Oh, I want to go to Harvard University as a then, because I never thought I was going to go to the business school, and I just thought maybe it would be Harvard Law School. And is now in retrospect, I remember all those prayers I used to make. But I think on the other hand, it was just that Harvard was so prestigious, and everyone on the streets knew the school, Harvard, and also the alumni network on the continent, the African continent, is huge. So I wanted to tap into um, that network. I also wanted to, I loved the brand, and they say different people go to business school for different reasons. Some go for the
Right.
brand, some go for funding, some go for maybe if the school is big on finance or whatever. The brand was really particular to me, and I think that was why I eventually chose Harvard.
Amazing. I know it's very important for you to decide what's critical for you, what you're looking out for in any school. Like you
Mhm.
said, people look out for, oh, is this prestige? Is it funding? Is it like a particular concentration? Is it the fact that they feel like, oh, this school is a target school for some type of career line and stuff?
Yeah.
So it's really important. Thank you. So during your application now, what do you think made your application stand out? Right.
Hmm.
Based on what you know now as a current student and your
As almost
entire
graduating.
in a couple of days, right? So what do you think made your application stand
Yeah,
out?
this
Just
is
from
actually a very powerful question, and to be honest, if we can do a series on on like how to make your application stand out, because to be honest, like I initially said, I didn't really have anyone in my network that had actually done an MBA, talk less of actually going to Harvard Business School. So I did extensive research as to what they look out for and how to actually stand out. So maybe you should pay me. I'm joking for what I want to say. But I think for me, first of all, I identify that business school programs are built on diversity. So rather than seeing my path coming from the non traditional background as a disadvantage, I used it as a strength. I think for me, that was the foundation and that was the bedrock. As a
Mhm.
lawyer, I then tailored my application to how, coming from a legal background, I was going to add diversity to the classroom. I was going to bring my own amazing experiences and would be able to let my classmate learn from me. So I think from that understanding, I then used it to permeate every aspect of my application. So from the resume, I was always bringing it from the light of although I'm a lawyer, this is what I bring to the table, and this is how it can translate to business skills. This is how my classmates can learn from me. This is how I can contribute on the world stage, like Harvard Business School, and really paying attention to the way I was communicating it. And I joined a number of, will I say, platforms that were helpful. Another thing I think was really major for me, because I needed to really understand what the school was looking for. So I joined all the admissions info session. Like, I think if they were taking a roster, they would probably. I made friends from having going to different ones that we see ourselves. Like, oh, I saw you on the last 2, 3, 4 ones. Yeah, again. Because I just really wanted to understand what the school was looking for. And to be honest, they actually say these things, but people think they do not mean it, or people are. Maybe, I don't know, for some reason people just miss it. So just going for those info sessions really made me understand what they were looking for, and just paying attention. So another thing I did was actually tracked people on LinkedIn that had gone to Harvard Business School and probably were from Nigeria, from Africa, and just studied their profiles. So that gave me an understanding of the candidacy that of the type of people that entered the school, and just then seeing how I could use my own background to then, will I say, almost influence and tailor my experiences to that. So I can go on and on about this, like you can see, but I think just very few of just using my own experiences and circumstances and tailoring it to that, will I say, ideal profile was essentially what I did.
Thank you for that answer. Honestly, you even touched on my next question. You mentioned 3 things that are very important. First of all, is attending those informational sessions, right? Secondly, reaching out to people on LinkedIn. And thirdly, making sure that your stories, everything you write in your essays or your interviews, they are personalized and they kind of tie with what the school is looking out for. I think it's very important, especially the role of networking, because people never really know like what's in a place apart from what they read online and what they get to hear somebody who has spoken. So for instance, somebody is watching us right now. The person has no links with Harvard and they're watching, they hear you, they're like, okay, this is like, Daniel has said this, I want to hear more, I want to know more about it, and then they go and read. So I feel like it's very important to put in like networking. Networking is a huge thing, right? Go on LinkedIn, look for current students, wherever school that you want to go to, look for any ties that you can connect, especially people from like African background. You don't necessarily have to limit yourself to just like Africans or Nigerians, but specifically look for people in the schools that you're looking to apply to and reach out to them, connect to them. Don't be offended if people don't respond to you because people are busy. People are busy, right? But that one person that responds to you, make sure that you make the best use of their time. Like you come to the session with like good questions, you come with an open spirit, with so much enthusiasm and stuff. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So do you think, I know you mentioned at the beginning that you are involved in a lot of like NGOs and volunteer activities. Do you think that any of those volunteer or extracurricular activities kind of played any significant role in your application process?
Definitely. Like, I don't know how you can apply for like a top MBA program without having like those volunteer activities, because they say that's what they look out for. So, for example, Harvard say they look for 3 things. They look for habit of leadership, they look for analytical aptitude, and engaged community citizenship. So that community part is a big piece for Harvard Business School. So it's a no-brainer. You actually need to have that experience for you to actually get in. So it played a major part. And for me, just leveraging. And another thing I tell people is it need not be you need not go to Mars or save the world or get rid of malaria in Africa. It can be the little things. I know people who have volunteered in church activities, and that was what they used to get in. I know people who have done things for their dad or their family or something in their community in terms of like maybe their estate or their neighborhood, and that was what they used to get in. I think when we think about community or NGO or volunteering, we think it must be the most grandiose type of thing. But so long as it's something that you're not being paid for, and you're doing it like effortlessly, and you're doing it like to pay it forward, I think that's what they look out for. So for me, it was very critical, just highlighting the NGO work I've been doing over the years, even as far back as when I was in I think secondary school was very helpful to show that this was not something I started doing because I wanted to apply to business school. There has been a pattern, and just highlighting that through the application.
Thank you for clearing that. And please ask any questions. If, as you're watching this, if you have any questions, please ask it in the comments. If you have anything to say to Daniel, I'm sure he'll be, eager to hear from you. So please put it in the comment section. All right, Daniel, let's talk about your internship recruitment. So, how was it like? Because many people want to know, after getting to the MBA program, they want to know, okay, so what are the career opportunities? Like, how is the summer internship like? How easy is it for international students to get roles? What should people be looking out for? People are always curious and they want to know, especially knowing what the job market is right currently. So can you walk us through how you landed your internship, how long the process took, how you prepared, what the application timeline or time frames were for you if you're looking into any specific industry? Sorry, I'm asking too many things at once, but yeah, if you're looking into any specific industries, just give us a basic rundown of how it was for you.
Awesome. I've actually never spoken publicly. I think all the interviews I've done in the past were just me actually getting into business school. I think this is the first interview that I'm actually really going to be speaking about the internship process and the application process. So thank you for that. It was not a walk in the park. And this is just me being honest. Like, I thought, oh, getting to Harvard Business School, all my worries and sorrows are over. Like, I can just lazy about going forward. But with great power comes great responsibility. So the work I had to do was more. And considering the fact that now you are over 900 students at Harvard Business School, so you still have to either compete with your classmates for this roles or compete with other candidates at other business schools for this role. So I still had to put in the work. So for me, I came in wanting to do tech. That was my focus. I really wanted to, because I was doing it from the legal side. Prior to business school, I really wanted to transition to the operations, to the strategy, to the execution part of it. And I really wanted to get my hands in the weed. So I applied to a number of a number of companies in the US. But to be honest, a number of things were not as favorable for me, and I needed to do more work because when you're recruiting for an internship, you're not recruiting based on the school you are at. Yes, the school can give you that platform, but they need to see your experience, your prior experience, before coming into the program, and does it actually cater to what the role you're applying for. So because all my prior experience were legal experiences, the onus was on me to then tweak my legal experiences and actually extract the value and how it would translate to the type of roles I'm now looking for in the tech industry. And trust me, it wasn't easy. Even getting my resume to that particular phase had to go through series of tweaks, had to go to through series of reviews for me to get my resume to that particular point. And I then thought applying for my internship, I just apply on my friend calls it the cold portal, where you just apply and go to bed. I didn't know that referrals were a thing. I didn't know that you could maybe reach out to the recruiters on LinkedIn and try to do a warm type of networking. I didn't know any of that. I just apply and go and sleep. And I wasn't getting called back for interviews. And I was always wondering what the problem was. So I think with that, when immediately I caught on that, I then started trying to implement referrals. I then started trying to network with recruiters and just network with people in the industry to ensure that I'm giving myself a competitive edge. But long story short, I eventually landed a role where I was like a general manager in a new country, helping a company expand to a country they were not before. And for me, in the end, I achieved what I wanted to achieve. Although it was not in the US, it was in Uganda, but it helped me get my hands dirty. I was able to it was like an entrepreneurial role. I was building a company from the ground up in Uganda. It's really changed my perspective, changed my skill set, and we can talk more about this, but I think just so we have room for more questions, this was how the experience was for me, and I'm happy to maybe touch on any other thing you want to really dig in. But yeah, this was the general gist.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've spoken to a lot of current students who also had similar experience as you with regards to internship recruiting, because like the job market in the past year was really tough. It was really tough. And I like what you said about not just applying and then going to sleep, right? In this day and age, you don't just apply and go to sleep. You actually the extra step to go on LinkedIn and find who is the hiring manager or who is somebody that's working in that role or who is a recruiter. Send at least like 5 or 10, well, 10 is a lot, but at least send messages to them, because not many people will reply. In fact, you may not even get people to reply to you, but that one person might be the turning point. So thank you for mentioning that. My next question for you, for someone who's watching this video right now, they've gotten admission to business school, it might not be Harvard, any school they've gotten into, and they're set to resume in the fall of 2023. What advice would you give to them for someone who is waiting to start school? They're like, okay, I'm at the point where I'm almost done with my job. I can't wait to start business school in a couple of months. Someone who's a current student now, tell me, what do I need to be doing? What should I look out for? Like, should I just be sleeping and waking up and waiting to travel? So what advice do you have for anyone in that situation?
Yeah, first of all, congrats on getting into the MBA program. It's not a walk in the park. Lots of hours and labor has gone into that. So, congratulations on this new phase in your life. It's going to be so much fun and work, and a lot of work. So, get ready for that. But what I would say is the work starts immediately the admission comes. Yeah, just take a few weeks to celebrate, to relax, but in all honesty, the work is just starting. So, I would say after you've gotten out of the bubble of getting in, first of all, you have to start thinking about every other thing. So some schools have like some pre-matriculation things you need to do, I think that's a different conversation. But in terms of maybe let's touch on career. So there are a lot of companies that do early recruiting. I didn't know about this even when I got in. So probably I know a number of consulting companies do, some tech companies do. So just Googling, putting your ears to the ground and finding out these opportunities will be very helpful. And if you can get an offer before even coming to school, is the best possible outcome that you can get, because even by the time you're recruiting for those offers, they are not really grading you on like you have an MBA experience, as opposed to if you're recruiting after your first year. So put your ears down for those professional opportunities that exist. Secondly, on the academic front, the MBA is actually very rigorous, and like I underestimated how rigorous it could be till I got in. So I know some schools actually provide some early preparation materials. Some would require you to like take maybe MBA math, or will require you to take certain courses. Please take them, because they will be a foundation for you when you actually start the core courses in the MBA program. It can be very, very, very nerve-wracking. So just start preparing with the prior materials they will send to you to prepare. Thirdly, take time to rest, because it's actually going to be a walk in the park. I know I have friends that resigned 2 days before they resumed in school. Like, it's not ideal. They come burnt out, they come tired. So so you want to actually take some time to actually rest, like have fun with your friends, have fun with your family, because it's going to be a different ballgame entirely, and you might not have the time to really dedicate to the people you really care about. So just cherish those moments and spend those quality time with them.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So my final question, I guess, is similar to the last one, but this one is for someone who is hoping to get into business school in the fall of 2024. So this year they're like, I want to start applying maybe first round or second round of this year. I'm trying to get into business school by August or September of 2024. What advice do you have for them, especially someone who is considering getting to an Ivy League school? It's not easy. You've gone through it, right? So what things did you not know during your time that if you have someone sitting down asking you this question, like, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I would say that currently there are a number of things you should start doing, because the MBA program in itself is very broad. So one thing I would say is, if you haven't written your standardized test, this is the best time to start preparing for it. Whether the GMAT or the GRE, schools do not actually like differentiate. So you can take any one that you think best suits you. So actually take time to really start preparing for the GMAT and the GRE, constantly taking mock tests to ensure that you're ready. And it's okay if you take it more than once. I did, and a number of people also did. Secondly, start reaching out to your recommenders, or start identifying the people you want to recommend you, because this is the only opportunity a third party actually has to speak to your candidacy. So the recommendation is actually very important. And there's also different strategies around how you want to go about your recommendation. So some people use their prior bosses, some people use those they've worked with in a community aspect. So just actually determine what your strategy is and what you want to actually get from your recommenders, because if you tell them on time, they have more time to prepare. You could also guide them as to the different instances and the different examples you want them to provide in your application that would actually make that will make you a strong candidate. Thirdly, I would say start taking up a number of leadership positions if you haven't already, even in your professional organization. You don't need to be the CEO or to be a manager for you to show leadership skills. So if you think you haven't really managed or really done anything that shows your leadership skills, I don't think it's too late for that. You can actually start building that on the go. And I think and one of the last major piece I'll give you is with the essay. The essay is critical and very important, because we generally joke around here and say any robots can ChatGPT. Thank you. Now ChatGPT exists, and ChatGPT can write a standardized test and get a perfect score. So the essay is the only opportunity where you get to be personable and where you get to show them that you are beyond your score, you are beyond your degrees, you're beyond your achievements. This is an opportunity for you to really be emotional, for you to be vulnerable, for you to actually show the color in your personality. So I would say get a scrapbook. First of all, Google depending on your school, what is the essay prompt. When you start off with that, as you then ruminate and think about the essay prompt, just be taking down things that come to mind. I think this would be a great experience to share. I think this would be a good anecdote to use. Just start taking them down somewhere, and when you now start putting your essays together, you would have a bank of already made resources to then leverage in your application. So that's what I would say to you. And you also got this. Do not be afraid of applying to any school. No school is beyond you. Take that bold step to apply. Don't self-select yourself out. The worst that can happen is they say no, but do not say that no for them when you do not know yet. So yeah, that's my advice.
Thank you for saying that. I have one last question that came up when you were answering about the application process. So for an international student, what round do you think is the best? Well, not necessarily the best, but is there preference for like first round, or second round, or third round, or final round in the application? What do you think an international student who is trying to get into an Ivy League school, what round should they be shooting for to get the best outcome?
This is the golden question. I get this question a lot of times. I would say, and the answer might actually seem very basic and an answer you've heard before, but it's the fact. Apply when your application is the strongest. So for me, I always wanted to apply round one, because there was this notion that if you apply round one, you have better opportunities of getting in. And some schools also tie their funding to the rounds. Harvard doesn't, which is another conversation. But I always wanted to apply round one. But by the time I wrote my first standardized test, I didn't get a score that I thought was befitting of me and of my capacity. So I had to, and I wrote the standardized test just right before the first round deadline, so I then had to write it again. So I missed that first round wave and applied round two and still got in. So I would say go for quality as opposed to you're trying to beat the time. So I wouldn't there's no perfect time. I would just say when you apply, know that you put your best foot forward and you've done everything within your power to actually present your candidacy, because the application is the only time, or it's the only way you can show the admissions committee that you actually are deserving and they are deserving of you. So I would say put in the work to ensure that your application is in the best possible shape and then apply. On that note, I would say for schools that have round three is not always ideal, because by round three they've already like almost filled the class size and they're looking for those very 1 or 2 or 3 exceptional people. So you can also apply in round 3, but know that the stakes are higher and you would need to do more to really show that you belong in the school and the class if you then decide to apply round 3. But generally, apply when your application is the strongest.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was so very nice to have you on the channel. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. Everyone watching, please make sure you drop a comment. Make sure you say something to Daniel. If you have any questions, please put it in the put it in the comments for us, and I'm sure Daniel will be reading. Okay, fantastic. I'm sure people can reach out to you if they want to know more information. And I know you have.
Let me quickly drop. Maybe let me think of one bonus point that I think I can drop. Maybe, well, I think we also talked about it in passing, but definitely reach out to current students and alums. They are a gold mine. They actually, I used a lot of them when I was applying, and they really changed my application, because the way I look at it is they're already in a room you want to get into, and they are the ones that can help you open the room door from within. So you from outside, it's easier for you to get access. So please leverage on current students, reach out to them on LinkedIn, reach out to them on Instagram if possible, DM them. There is no shame in this game. So yeah, they will be a great resource.
And I know you have an Instagram page where you discuss all things Harvard. Please plug it here. I'm sure people will want to know more about you or know more about Harvard from it. So please.
Yeah, we've not been active, but we'll revive the page.
Okay. By the time this is done, I'm sure you give me the handle, so I'll put it on the screen. All right. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure having you on here. I'm so glad that we got to speak to you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your knowledge with us. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.
Bye.